Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lisa Elvin Stoltari, and this is Have Roots Will Travel. Over the last several years, I've been featuring Les Filles du Roi, or the King's Daughters, in an episodic way, taking each one of their stories and trying to honor them and find out what made them come to Quebec and where they settled, really get a little bit more information and kind of flesh out their lives a little bit. There are over 700 of them, and we are now on episode 252. Can you believe it? We've come a long way, and we still have a long way to go. Join me, will you? Before we begin, let me show you ways you can support the channel. The first three keep you in the know. Subscribe, like, and notify. The next are ways to help the channel grow. We have Coffee and Patreon, which are external platforms which permit you to adjust the amount that you would like to contribute. And then we also have a super thanks that's on your YouTube, that bar below. And then on my website, Have Roots Will Travel, there's also a PayPal button. Don't forget about Have Roots Will Travel and the index that permits you to see all of the other episodes that have come before. So let's get started, shall we? Today's episode, 252, Marie Briere, and she comes to me as a viewer request. And when I looked in my files, there is my boy next door. This is one of his great-grandmothers as well. So let's get to know Marie a little bit better. Now, she was born in 1651 in a place called Saint-Malin in France. Her parents were François Briere and Louise Trojan. Now, Saint-Malin is a former commune, and it is found in the Brittany region, and inside the Brittany region is Ille-et-Vilaine, and it is now, Saint-Malin is now part of the commune of Châteaubourg. So those of you who want to visit this area, this is what you would be looking for. It actually merged in 2014, began the merger in 1973, and was effective 2014. So it's fairly recent. Now, Saint-Malin did not become an actual parish. So during the time that Marie would have been there, she was probably baptized in a church found Saint Jean Baptiste, found in the commune of Saint-Jean-sur-Velin, of which Saint-Malin was what you might call a suburb. So that's the best that I could find out about. It was very complicated in terms of, who was where and how it was and all of that. So anybody who has more information on that, I'd greatly appreciate that. At about the age of 19, she would lose both her parents, and she would embark on the greatest adventure of her life. She would sail on La Nouvelle France and would arrive in Quebec on July 31st, 1670. The groom that she would select and who would select her, his name was Gagne, and he was born in 1643 in Caen, in France. Caen is part of the Normandy region, and inside the Normandy region is the Calvados department, of which Caen is one of the largest cities, and that is actually the third largest city in Normandy. Now, his parents were André Guy and Anne Lemay. Now, Caen has existed since Roman time and originally had the name Catamogus, which is Gaulish in original meaning. Field mogus means field, and cato means combat. It remained relatively small until the 10th century when the guy named William the Conqueror constructed the Château de Caen. Over the next few hundred years, Caen would go back and forth between France and England. A really, really remarkable town. It's definitely on my bucket list. I was, however, not able to confirm where Jacques was baptized. In the 1667 census, Jean is listed as the servant of François Bissou, and he is found at Lauson. So we know that for sure he was there by 1667, probably as an engagé, who meant that he had signed a contract for at least 3 years of work, and was prepared, we hope, to stay in New France. And he did. Let's find out how that happened. On October 16, 1670, at Quebec City, Jean married Marie, and let's see where they settled. They would settle in a town by another name, Lauson, It had many names, and you can see Cap de Lévis, Côte de Lauzon, Saint-Joseph de la Pointe Lévis, Saint-Joseph de Lévis, Point Lévis, Point Levi. So you can have an idea. This is an actual seigneurial map of it. This kind of lays out where it would have been. And then, of course, the church. Lauzon had been settled back in 1636 by a man, appropriately enough, named Lauzon, who was basically an absentee landlord. His son, Jean de Lauzon, would actually take it over in 1651 and have it for about 10 years. And the third son, Charles de Lauzon, would take it over and would have it for another 30 years. It's during his tenure that Lauzon grew and became a true place to create a home. And one of the principal peoples who founded this place is called Guillaume Couture, which is, of course, not our guy, but it's such an interesting story. To know Lauzon is to know Guillaume Couture. So please have a look if you want to explore this. If this is your ancestry, then obviously they would have known Guillaume and his family. He was an amazing man, and the story of Lauzon would not be the same without him. And some of the founding families of Lauzon, interesting enough, are called Bissou, Carrier, Brulotte, and look at that, Guy. We have Bourralé, Béguin, Huard, Bourget. And as I've said, the names of Point-Lévis keep going on and on and on. So you need to know that when you're doing your research, because you never know, arose by any other name, as they say. So let's have a look at the family they created. They would go on to have 6 children. We have Alexis, who would marry Elisabeth Dizzy and have 6 children, 4 of whom would survive to adulthood, 2 who would leave descendants. Rosalie would marry Sylvain Duplat and have 1 child who would make it to adulthood. She would then marry Julien Laniel and have 2 children who made it to adulthood. Marie would marry François Dubon and have 3 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. François' mother was Catherine Veillou, who we have not yet profiled. Catherine would marry Clément Dubois, François' brother, but would not have any descendants. We have evidence that she actually would take care of her stepfather until his death. Jean-Baptiste would become an engagé out west, but would die in Montreal at about the age of 27, without any descendants. Marie Angélique would marry Jean Boucher and have 4 children, one of whom would survive to adulthood before her early death at 25. Jean would pass away sometime in 1679. We do not know the reasoning of his death. We don't know if it was an accident or sickness. We don't even have a death record. Now, he and Marie would have been married less than 9 years, and he would be no more than 36 years of age, actually, not even 40. So extraordinarily young, even for that time period. Now, of course, there was a second groom. She had 6 children, after all, to take care of. Martin Guédon was born in 1645 in a place called Saint-Maurice-de-Talent in France. His parents were Jean Guédon and Marie Capon. You can see that Saint-Maurice is part of the Normandy region, and inside of Normandy, the département is Seine-Maritime. Now, this small commune has about 293 people. But the church of St. Maurice dates from the 15th century, and the castle, this is the one that's on the bottom, is from the 14th century and has a rich history of France and all that it endured during that time. On November 20th, 1679, they were married at Quebec City. Now, they would go on to have a son together, Martin, 1681. He was born. He was able to be included in the census, but we do not know what really happened to him. So I don't have information. I'm assuming, perhaps incorrectly, that he died in infancy, but I don't have any proof of that. Now, in the 1681 census, we have Martin and we have Marie Briere, his wife, 30 years old. Now, the children, Alexis, Rosalie, Marie, Catherine, Jean, Angélique, we know that that is from her first husband. Martin, 1 month. Now you can see during this time period, when you see a break, now there's not a big break. We have Angélique, who's born who's 3 years old, and Martin, who's basically 0, like 1 month. That's a long time in New France. Normally, the children were born within 18 months, 12 to 18 months apart. So when you see a break, look for that break because that could indicate a new husband. And remember, if you were just looking at the 1681 census, you would think, oh, this Martin is the father. So it's a very, very important to look at that strategically. And they did have one cow, and they had 8 arpents, which is about 6 acres of land. Marie would pass away before 1701. They are both buried at Lausanne, we assume. And Martin would die after 1709. So again, we are really kind of without any evidence. We just know based on contracts, they were not present, that sort of thing. So we estimate their passing away. So there we have the story of Marie and the early loss of her husband at such a young age. I can't even imagine. And having the children and then restarting her life. So many of the filles du roi had to do this. And the fact that they continue, they didn't just, I don't know. I wonder if they would have just left to go back home. Probably not because they didn't have the means to do it. But the fact that they had to survive is a testament to their determination. And also, I think it has passed down because I have to tell you, French Canadians are among the most determined and most survival conscious of the individuals. I count myself among them, but if you have any French Canadian blood in you, you know what I'm talking about. You know that you've got that feeling of just I'm going to hang on. And many of these ladies, that's what they gave the most of. They gave that ability to keep on keeping on. So we want to thank Marie for her bravery and her ability to withstand whatever life threw at her. And I also want to say thank you to my patrons, supporters, and viewers. Thank you to all of you for your continuing support of my endeavors. I really, really appreciate it, and it kind of keeps me going on those days where I go, oh, I'm never going to finish this. And but that's not the point. The point is to honor each and every one of these amazing women. And I hope that in so doing, I help you in your research as well. So until I see you on episode 253, I will say au revoir.